What's going on YouTube? So of course Escalade has long been kind of the flagship SUV that a lot of people think of when they think of a flagship SUV. But times are changing and Escalade has been electrified with the IQ. Now we're actually standing next to another new iteration. This is the Escalade IQL. So this, of course, is going to be the bigger version of the Escalade IQ. And we're here in person with it today, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick first look. Now we'll start out with the exterior design. Obviously, IQ is a brand new addition to the Escalade lineup. It has a totally different look than your traditional gasoline variant, and that is going to continue for the L version. So you've got the signature grille up in the front with the lighting. Of course, you have the beautiful crystal LED headlights. And I'm just going to kind of, move through some of this exterior stuff pretty quickly because most of it is the same as the traditional IQ. And we do have a dedicated video that you can check out for all the other detailed information about the IQ lineup. Now, of course, with the Escalade IQ, you've got the 24-inch alloy wheels. There's going to be a variety of different designs on board with this. This, by the way, is a 2026 model year, and they're going to slightly change up the trim level naming, but the actual structure is going to be pretty much the same. And then in terms of your mirrors here, you've got the nice gloss back finish up on the top. You're going to have auto dimming, power folding, all the things that you expect for a luxury SUV.
Now at the side of the Escalade IQL, this is of course where you're going to really see that this is a big vehicle. The Escalade IQ is already very large at 224 inches, and this makes it even bigger. Although it does still ride on the same wheelbase, of course, it is about 4 inches longer, coming in at 228 inches in length. And of course, I think a really big deal for the Escalade IQL specifically is the fact that it's a little bit more squared off than the traditional Escalade IQ. That model kind of slopes off here in the rear quarter panel, and this one's going to stay a little bit more traditional in your overall Escalade design. So it's going to be very squared off and boxy. Now, of course, it's also very tall, and we are going to have roof rails included as standard equipment, which is something that you can't get straight from the factory on the regular Escalade IQ. Now, as we head around to the rear design, this, of course, looks quite different as well. So this, like I said, is a little bit more boxy than the traditional Escalade IQ. So we have a little bit of a flatter window through here. We do still keep a spoiler up top with a wiper integrated underneath. And then this panel, it's going to be pretty much the same as the Escalade IQ. We do have some special branding right here. As you can see, it's the IQL. And then we're going to have our full-length LED taillights. Very fancy overall design. This is a flagship after all. And then dropping down to the lower fascia, this, of course, is finished in a piano black. You're going to have the same tow capacity as the regular Escalade IQL. Now, as far as the safety systems are concerned for the Escalade IQL, those are going to be every single one of those as standard equipment, as you would expect. And that's even going to include standard Super Cruise as well, which is certainly good for a family hauling vehicle like this. But let's go ahead and check out the inside. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars.
all right, now we are very eager to show you the inside of this Escalade IQL. However, we are in a very, very limited time frame with this vehicle. So what we're going to do is actually cut to our regular Escalade IQ review, where we've gone into a lot of the details of this cabin. And of course, the main thing that changes with this IQL is just that third row, which is what we're going to be diving into a little bit later in this video.
All right, now it's time to check out the interior. First, we'll look at the Q fob. This is one of the more conventional elements of the IQ. It's just a regular Cadillac Escalade Q fob, but you do have your ability to precondition the cabin and open the frunk on the fob. Walking up to the vehicle itself, obviously you're going to get those animations I was talking about earlier. This does have an electronic door handle, so you just pinch, and that's going to open up the door. Now, the doors themselves are special in the fact that they are power doors, so you can just press that would close it up, and do it opposite as well to open it up. But let's get into this interior. Now, obviously, we have just a stunning interior. There's a lot going on in terms of both technology and the overall luxury factor. Let's begin with the seats, though. So there's not going to be any real leather for the interior, but you've got two different grades. We have the super realistic faux leather, and we have the beautiful harbor blue color. This is absolutely stunning. I love all the details that they've done in the stitching and piping all going throughout. And again, it just feels super, super realistic. No one would know that this is not the real thing. Now the seat controls are over here on the door trim. You've got a lot of different adjustments. Of course, you have heating and ventilation, and then this right here is gonna be able to activate your massaging and take you through all the different modes. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now you might have noticed on the outside, the fact that we don't have power deploying running boards. Those cannot be on the IQ just because of the overall structure of the vehicle like they can on the traditional Escalade. And then check that out. Obviously, that's a pretty darn cool feature. You put your foot on the brake, that fires up the vehicle automatically without pushing anything and closes up your door. Now that we're fully inside here, I want to just go ahead and look around at the rest of the cabin materials. Obviously, you have just beautiful materials top to bottom. So over here on our door trim, more of that leatherette material going all through here in that blue and all along the top. Beautiful etched metal speaker grills that are absolutely enormous. We have a beautiful wood that runs through here, and it actually has little perforations inside because ambient lighting will shine through this real wood. Up top here, padded plastic. Beautiful wood continues all through here. We got the high gloss finish on today's example. More of the leather material through here and all along here with more wood, a little bit of piano black, but not too much. And overall, just really, really solid. I already started up by putting my foot on the brake. Now let's get into some of the individual details. First of all, we've got the, very small detail of this display here. Just kidding, we have a 55-inch display. We might as well just go on and talk about this right from the start because this just occupies so much of the overall interior. It's got a lot of different functions because it's kind of three different things, both the gauge cluster, the infotainment system, and a passenger display. We'll start with the gauge cluster. So right now I've got it in the Google Maps mode. Obviously this is absolutely enormous. I can select on here a few different things as well, including a night vision camera, or we can just do something traditional if you want to just kind of see your regular gauges. One way or the other, you do have a large head-up display, which also contains a lot of different information inside as well. Now, as I pull back to the steering wheel, we have a beautiful two-spoke steering wheel. It's going to have nice leather covering all throughout. Power tilt and telescoping abilities. Of course, you have steering wheel heating as well. This does have the Super Cruise, as Mason was saying earlier, so that's what this bar is for as well. Now, turning over to interior storage, you want to see a lot of storage on an SUV this big, and it's not going to disappoint, that's for sure. They've really utilized the packaging to its maximum degree. Opening up our center console here, we're going to have plenty of space. As you can see right now, we've actually got our headphones charging for the rear entertainment system, but regardless there, you can see you have a ton of space. As we move forward though, you have not one, but two wireless phone charging pads. You've got some storage behind this display, and then this right here is the real winner. So we've got just an absolute ton of storage. You can stick just about anything in this area. One of the things you can stick here, interestingly, is an accessory, a full refrigerator system. So keep your drinks cool and stuff, and have a door on both sides for you to access those beverages. Now, as we move back into this region, you're going to see that obviously this doesn't have a traditional climate control system. The climate controls are going to be built into this display. Now this actually has 5 distinct zones of climate, which is 2 more than what you get on the standard gas Escalade, and you can control each of those, as you can see right there, individually inside of this main display. This isn't the only thing that you can do inside the display, so you can see you've got some additional functions inside of here, including our seats. This is also a good place for you additionally to see some of those massage modes that I was talking about earlier on at the Luxury 2 and the Sport 2. And then you also have some driving controls inside of here. This is where you can activate things like your arrival mode right inside the rear steering. You can activate your universal remotes, and you can open and close all the doors right here. So for instance, if you want to let your child out and then close the door behind them, that's something that you can do with this Escalade IQ. Now, of course, none of that space was dedicated to a shifter because it's up here on the column. Super simple, just pull down for drive, bump up for reverse. When you go into reverse, here's your standard 360-degree camera system. As you can see, you got that overhead view, you've got active trajectory, and then you can switch between a few different views over here. One thing I do want to say though is that for as much screen real estate as you have, the actual camera display is a little bit small and the resolution is not fantastic. It's pretty good though. You can just press the N there for park. Now down here on the lower panel, you'll also notice you have a control knob. This can control your infotainment system, or of course it's a touchscreen. And next to it, you have a physical control for the audio system. Now the audio is really a big highlight of this vehicle because we got the AKG premium sound system. You're gonna get at least 19 speakers as standard equipment, but since we have one of the higher end models, we get the 36 speaker sound system. And let's go ahead and give it a sample right now. Yeah, this is just a fantastic sounding sound system. As you'd expect, you've got speakers coming out of pretty much everywhere, including inside your headrest and right above your head. So yeah, just an absolutely stunning sounding sound system. Okay, so let's kind of bring our attention into the main infotainment system itself. So obviously it takes up a lot of space in terms of screen real estate, but if you've been in some of the recent Cadillac models, it will be pretty easy to understand. It's an Android-based system. It does have Google Apps built in as well. So one of the things, of course, you can do, as you probably saw earlier, is just pull up kind of your built-in Google Maps. That's going to be able to give you live traffic, all the things you're used to seeing, just kind of built natively into the system. Of course, kind of the important thing to mention is the fact that you will actually be using the built-in because you don't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. As a electric General Motors product, they have pulled those systems from their lineup, so you cannot have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, wired or wireless. Now, of course, over here you got that passenger display I was talking about earlier. You can see you can pull up certain things like your favorite Car Confections review on YouTube. And then up top here, we've got the digital camera rear view mirror. The headliner is finished in a beautiful suede. And then you're probably seeing this roof panel area. So this has a fixed panoramic sunroof. It does not have a sunshade built in, nor can it open. So keep those two things in mind. As you can see, we have the accessory sunshade kind of put in there. You know, owners can choose to have that if you want. I would prefer to have one kind of natively built in because this one kind of looks a little bit of an afterthought, which I guess it is kind of an afterthought. But you can, you know, take this in and out, but obviously it's not going to slide.
All right, so let's talk about the rear seat area. Now, this, of course, is a very important aspect of the Escalade IQL, and you're very curious probably about how much additional space it's going to add. Well, here in the second row, you know, it adds very little space. It's actually going to be just 1/10 of an inch larger in overall legroom here in the second row, which certainly isn't a bad thing because the regular Escalade IQ is a very, very spacious product here in the rear. Now, as far as features are concerned, we have gone through all of those in other videos, so you can check that out if you're curious. But we have rear seat entertainment screens. You even have a standard infotainment screen right here in the center as well that will allow you to adjust your climate, your seat heating, your seat ventilation. You can even get an executive rear seating package here in the second row. But really the bigger news with the IQL is the third row, so let's go ahead and dive into that. All right, but the big news, let's check out the third row. That is the reason you buy the Escalade IQL. So in order to get back here, it is pretty simple. Typical Cadillac Escalade, you just press down once. Once more is going to release the seat and it's going to tumble out of the way. Do be aware you'd have to remove a child seat, however. And then let's sit back here in the third row of the new Escalade IQL. Now, oh my goodness, there is a ton of space back here. Now, this seat is not slid all the way back in its tracks, so do keep that in mind. But Cadillac is saying they have improved the third row legroom by a significant margin. They're saying about 4 inches more third row legroom than the traditional Escalade IQ. That is a huge deal. Because we actually covered the Escalade IQ in a review a couple months ago, and I was a little disappointed by the third row because it wasn't as good as the gasoline model. They have also raised the seat about an inch off the floor, so that's going to give me more thigh support, and overall it just feels a lot more comfortable. So if you're going to be using the third row frequently, definitely get the IQL model. Now, there are going to be 3 third row seats back here. We also have some nice padding on our armrest portion. We're additionally going to have a cup holder. And I do want to point out, we're even going to get an inch more headroom as well with the IQL because, of course, it's a little bit more squared off on the outside. That gives you more headroom. We have vents in the ceiling as well. So overall, I'm very impressed with this IQL's third row. It's just about as good as something like an Escalade ESV. All right, and let's also talk about the cargo capacity in the IQL. Now, that is also improved. However, it's not going to be as drastically as improved as the third row area versus the regular Escalade IQ. We're only sitting at about 1 cubic feet more space behind the third row seats, according to Cadillac. Although, kind of seeing it here in person, it does seem like you have quite a bit more space. It's a little bit longer, it looks like, and also seems like it has a little bit more room to stack up behind the third row. Now, as far as if we fold those third row seats down, we are going to be looking at some pretty darn good figures. 75 cubic feet behind the second row and 125 cubic feet with all the seats folded down. Now, this is a pre-production model, so I can't, push all those buttons and have the vehicle appropriately function, but that actually places it as better than the Escalade gas model, not the Escalade gas ESV, but that's a very good cargo capacity figure. I think it's going to be definitely good enough for most families' needs. And of course, don't forget, you have that frunk up in the front that adds quite a bit additional space.
Where is that extra space, you may ask? Well, it's where a big V8 would normally be in an Escalade. We have a gigantic frunk. Now, as far as the space is concerned on this, about 12 cubic feet of space up here in the front. That is a lot, actually. So typically with a frunk, you might only have about 5 cubic feet. This is a lot more than your average setup, and Cadillac has done a lot creatively with this, frunk area. You can actually attach accessories, have little boxes and things. They'll know that this is, frequently used for things like groceries, so it keeps all of that from rolling around. You can even have a tray that slides in and out to make accessing things way back there a lot easier. So I'm happy that they're being very clever with this storage solution. We even have a household outlet right up here in the front. We also have one in the rear as well. I forgot to mention that earlier.
All right, I'm sure at this point of the video, you're probably wondering about the powertrain and if that extra length does impact things such as your range. Well, I'm happy to tell you it does not. Now, I'm standing right now next to the regular version of the IQ, and the specs are exactly the same. So that means you have a 200 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. That massive battery will deliver to you 460 miles of range, which is again exactly the same as the regular version and the largest range that you can get on any type of luxury EV SUV. Maximum power on board when you activate Velocity Max mode will be 750 horsepower.
And let's talk about pricing when it comes to the Escalade IQL. We actually do have that information available to us, and I think you're going to be very happy with what they've done here because it's only going to cost around $3,000 more than an equivalent Escalade IQ. So honestly, if you use your Escalade for hauling a lot of people or a lot of things, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer to choose this Escalade IQL. Cadillac actually says they're expecting about 50% of Escalade IQ buyers to opt for this. So that means we're going to start at $130,000 for the base model and then go all the way up to $151,000 for the Sport 2 IQL. Now, I also want to point out, of course, as you can see here on this sign, this is a 2026 model year vehicle, so this is not quite available yet. This will be a later availability thing. And guys, hopefully you found this first look walk around of the 2026 Cadillac Escalade IQL helpful. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family, and we have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're looking to buy a Cadillac Escalade or any new vehicle, we'd also encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price and to be connected with dealers in order to get you the best price and access to invoice pricing information. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. And guys, that's going to wrap up this review. Thanks so much for tuning in, and if you're already a fan and subscriber, thanks for your continued support.